Whether you're new to pool and practicing the basics, or a more experienced player performing drills to improve your shot making and positional play, the Drill Partner is perfect for you.
I don't know why you get me all fired up, Mike, before we're
You again.
live. We're just, you try to get me on tilt right before I hit go live every single time. People don't know that.
You're the one who always sends me the notes after I'm bitching about something. You say, save it for the show. Save it for the show.
That is my usual go-to line. Well, because there's so many, you're just full of gems. That's part of being a Hall of Famer. You're full of gems. It just comes natural to you. And but we've been pretty busy and covering a variety of topics, man. I did a nice show last night with Federer, which we missed you on, and it was a little short. Wasn't he told me a little bit ahead of time. He said I only got about a 30-minute window, so that kind of I don't like feeling rushed, Mike. You know what I mean? I like feeling some.
I'm looking forward to this one. This is going to be this one's a good one. This is going to be exciting. This is something a little different than what we're usually talking about, but tons of upside opportunity and excitement about this new documentary project. So I'm excited for this.
I met these ladies back in December, and I think I heard about it like as I'm getting on a flight or something, and it was very like, oh, there's gonna be this documentary crew there at Brunswick, and I was like, yeah, whatever, okay. And then they're with their big cameras and professional microphones and take one, and I'm just like, I'm a fish out of water, man. So I don't get nervous very often, but I did. But I am pumped for this one. I feel like part of doing this is like fun to just talk and conversate, but then the other side of it is like there's a responsibility for certain things. And whenever you have a project like this, I feel like it's our duty almost to make sure we help spread the word as we can. So let's bring them on in, Mike. You can do the introductions.
Well, me do the intro. Okay, so the project is Q Queens, which hopefully everyone has seen some comment about in social media, and a documentary on women's pool and how it's evolved. And,
introduce the ladies, Mike, not introduce the whole thing.
Well, but I can't introduce the ladies without saying, okay, the director and producer of this is Ashley Tyndall, and of course Kim Shaw is well known to many pool fans from her WPBA days. Another one of those British snooker transplants that came over here and set her roots in North Carolina and never left. And Ashley, I'm not 100% sure where you are at.
I live in Long Beach, California. So I'm in the LA area. Yeah.
Okay, LA area. Okay. So, really excited about this project. And we'll get into a lot more discussion about that. But, Kim, we know from her pool background, you've been involved in directing and producing documentaries for a number of years now. And I took a look at some of, what your background has been and some of what those projects were been. Tell us a little about your background. Tell us, this is a bit of a departure from what you've been. You were in a lot of very social, documentaries, society and in very, backwoods places or not
around the world. Yes, I've done a lot of
sleeping places.
Yeah. So this is quite a bit of a departure. So tell us a little bit about your background and then how you got into this as being a passion project.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us on. It's such a pleasure to hang out with you guys today. I really appreciate it. So my background, I started off working on environmental projects, indigenous affairs, lots of human rights stuff, social justice projects. And I mean, those are still near and dear to my heart. It's not like I've forgotten all of that. I worked for National Geographic for a while. I produced for a number of different filmmakers here in Los Angeles and the Bay Area. I've done some music documentaries, lots of broadcast television stuff. But I think in the last couple of years, I've become pretty fatigued with, a lot of documentaries. And it's really hard to get people to get excited about, sort of some of the terrible things happening in our world. But what they can always get excited about is sports. And to me, sports are so much fun because you get to see people performing at the top of their game. They're doing what they're passionate about, what they love. And you can really open up a window into a world where people don't necessarily understand what it takes to be like a professional pool player for that matter, And so like, you can walk into your neighborhood bar and you can say, oh, I can shoot around and look at me, I'm hot stuff. And, it's fun to go out on a date and show people your skills. And in fact, that's how I met you. But, you don't always know actually what it really takes to be a phenomenal player. And so, through a friend of Kim's, a mutual friend of ours, Julie Edwards, who's a director in the UK, I met her and she was like, there's this really cool world of women's professional billiards. And have you ever thought about doing something in that? I was like, no, I haven't. The more I learned about it, the more I got excited about it, because I do think that sports is something where we can all come together, right? We all get to celebrate the wins. We get to celebrate phenomenal talent. And we get to celebrate people who are just like living, their dreams. And to me, that's really exciting. It's why we love it, the Olympics, right? So why can't we pull together and like dip into this world of women's pro pool and see these incredible characters and just celebrate them? So to me, this is like one of the most fun projects I've ever worked on, for sure.
Yeah. And
now
Kim,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, now that you're 6 months deep, how are you feeling about these characters now that you're meeting out at pool tournaments? They can be a little interesting sometimes.
Yeah, but isn't that what makes them fun? We're not interesting in boring people, right?
Of course.
They're all really different, right? Like what it takes for them to play, to keep going. You've got people like, Savannah Easton and Sophia Mass and Jordan Helfrey, who are all super young, right? And so they're coming at this with their families, and it's they're learning as they go. And then you've got people who've been playing for 40 years, people like Lori John Brown and Billy Billing, and their depth of experience and what they have seen. And like they came out of like the feminist movement, and they were part of starting the WPBA. So what they have to teach the younger generation is incredible. And then we've got everybody in between. Like somebody like Kelly Fisher, who everyone says universally she's beloved, right? Because she's a queen. She's incredibly kind. She's incredibly talented. And she's a goofball. She's also just like a really great human being to hang around and have a glass of wine with. So like I love all of these people. What's not to love? And they're pursuing their dream, which I think all of us love to see people, rising to the occasion, pushing themselves, training hard, and pursuing their dream. That's what we all live for, right?
That's one of the great things about this project. You get to see them. You get to see the person, not just the player. I know that a lot of people think Kelly's quite aggressive and maybe a hard personality, but she's not. She's the softest person. Well, she's the softest person you could meet. Very generous, very kind. But on the table, she's a killer.
Yeah, that's what it takes. And Kim, tell me about your getting involved in the project. What you thought at first and how excited you were to be involved in the ground floor of something like this and help kick around those ideas that are going to turn this into a story.
Yeah, thank you. So it started with when I met Julie Edwards, who's the other producer. So there's three of us, me, Ashley, and Julie. So it started in about 2010. So Julie, so that's how far back the little seed has gone. Wow. So she wanted to do a documentary on Alison. So she came to a tournament and she filmed her, did some interviews, but it just didn't get any traction or anything.
Yeah, she did some interviews in the U.S., didn't she? Didn't she come to like a tournament like the U.S. Open or something?
To Florida.
Yeah.
Florida. Yeah. So
I got interviewed for that.
I still have that footage.
Oh, do you really?
I do. We might have to talk.
Yeah.
Cutting room floor. I don't know. Anyway,
we'll probably put it to use.
Yeah. So, and that's where I met Julie. So we hit it off. And then she realised that, hey, there's three women players in the billiard world. There's Mandy Fisher. I don't know whether you've heard of Mandy Fisher, but she started the ladies snooker back in the 80s. Then you've got Alison Fisher, who's the next generation. Then you've got Kelly Fisher. So we were talking, and we thought it would be a great idea to do another documentary called The Fisher Queens, about these three players. So we put a lot of sweat equity into it, and I don't know whether you remember that, but we tried to get that off the ground as well, and we had a crowdfunding campaign and everything, but that didn't get any traction either. So Julie and I have stayed friends, and we always hoped that the time is going to be right. There is going to be a time for this project. We just don't know when.
Yeah.
And then cut to last year when Julie met Ashley, a filmmaker. They got talking. Ashley liked the idea. So Julie spoke to me about it. We got together. And since then, it's just been full on, you know, getting the players together. And the players have been incredible. The players have been incredible. I mean, they've given.
That's what I was going to ask. How they've been receiving you ladies being around now.
Great. And I think the fear could have been, oh, this won't happen. You know, people have tried this before, but they trust us. You know,
there's always like this skepticism though, like amongst players at times. I feel like whenever there's, you know, something new or maybe something that's been around before, but they've been there. They've done that. It feels like at times.
Yeah. But this, and I'm saying this, but this does feel different, you know. And Ashley, Julie, and I always had a vision. We just had to get the players to have that same vision, and so we would Zoom with the players, wouldn't we, Ashley? Talk to them, and then
it's a lot of talking to the players before you ever bring out a camera, right? You just build a relationship, you get to know them. You try to understand, you know, where they're at in their career, what they want to do, what their goals are, and then who they are as a person and who's important to them in their lives. You know, everybody has family, partners, you know, they've got stuff going on. And so you build the relationship first. And I mean, I have to say, I have to give Kim her flowers. I mean, because she is a former player, because she knows so many of these players, I mean, she's been able to get us access that I don't think there's any way I could have had coming from the outside. Not knowing this world, you know, diving in, you know, Kim.
So she's your Mike. Yes. I got a Pinozo who helps me there, and you got a Kim. It's perfect.
Kim's my Mike.
She got the better end of that deal.
I think the three of us working together, and then we brought Lisa Lopez in on it and Emily Duddy doing social media. We've all got our strengths, and we just work perfectly together. I mean, there's a lot of these players who I hadn't met before this project. You know, let's call them the younger players.
Yeah, right.
Our rising stars.
Rising stars. So look, once you get Kelly Fisher and Alison Fisher on board, it's like, this must be good.
Yeah, right. Legit. Yeah, it's some credibility, some street cred there with everybody else. What? Tell me a little bit about how you guys put a storyline together before you launched into all the interviews, or is it something that's been organic as it goes along? And, you know, has it changed? Has it morphed? The other thing is, you know, one thing I know about people who've done documentaries is, you know, you end up with 9 million hours of tape that you're going to boil down to 40 minutes. And at what point are there too many players, too many voices, too many? How do you juggle all that?
Yeah, well, I'd love to talk about that. So documentaries, you know, we make it up as we go along, and we do have to sense out, you know, what are the storylines, and lots of things can happen in the next couple of years as we're following players. So the reason when I first came on board, I really said, this feels like more than just a 1 hour or a 40-minute film.
Yeah.
This feels like a series. Yeah. And so, you know, the way I've always been thinking about it is we do a little bit of the past, the present, and the future of women's pool, right? And that's actually the world of pool itself, right? And billiards, because whatever happens with the women, it affects the men's side as well, right? So if it gets to the Olympics, it's going to be men and women. So for me, it's like, if we're shining a light on the women's side, we're shining a light on the whole industry, right? The whole kit and caboodle. So for me, looking at, you know, the past, you know, how women even broke into the sport, because, you know, honestly, you know, women weren't even allowed in a lot of pool halls. They weren't allowed to compete in many, many countries. And so really you start to see this sort of change in the mid-century and then the 70s. And so women actually get to break in, they get to compete. You have the start of the WPBA in the 70s. So they can turn pro. And we've got a lot of those players who are not only still alive, they're still playing.
They're still playing,
right? Yeah. And that's amazing to me, you know, like, and then of course you get like the current stars today, and there's a whole range of them, and it is multiple generations that are still playing. And we want to see what's going to happen with them. So that's what I'm calling like the present of pool. So, how are they competing? A lot of people say right now that the WPBA is at the greatest competition level it's ever been, that the talent there is so deep. So to me, I'm like, that's an exciting time to come into this world and look at, who they are and like what's driving them. We've got tons of Asian players coming in, Eastern European players coming in, but also phenomenal American talent. So to me, like, oh, okay, they're all rubbing elbows. That's drama, right? That's great TV right there.
Yeah.
Like who are the stars that are going to rise to the top? And so we want to profile probably, we're interviewing quite a few, but I feel like, as we go along, probably 3 to 4 will really become sort of the main characters, the linchpins that we're going to see throughout the series. And we want to see what happens to them. Can they get to the World Games? Can they get to the Olympics? Maybe not 2028, but maybe 2032. But also, can they make money? Can they continue on as a pro? Do they get the sponsorships? I mean, this is a really hard world. A lot of them, they have day jobs, right?
Yeah.
So like, can they make a living? And then also, what's the future? So not only the Olympics, but like, can pool get back to something like an ESPN? Can it get the eyeballs that it used to have in what were, sort of the gravy days of a decade or more ago? So to me, like, I have lots and lots of questions. So I think a 3-part series, right? We get an hour where we dip into the past, we sink our teeth into the present, we go into the future, we get an hour in each place. And I think then you're really involved in the world. And I think there's enough stories, there are enough great characters that I think 3 hours is actually being modest.
Yeah. So this just kind of popped into my head, but especially when you talk about the initial stages, the history, what kind of access do you have, or have you delved into that much on footage and tape from back then? Because a lot of it was ESPN during the gravy days, and I don't think WPBA ever had any contractual, access to those. It was all ESPN stuff. If you run into any roadblocks with that, do you think you're going to be okay?
I think we're going to be great. I mean, fortunately, we're in contact with the main ESPN producer at the time, who's actually a third-party producer.
Okay.
And so, so the WPBA does have the copyright to some of that material. ESPN owns some of it. But fortunately, we know people who have been willing to share a lot of the ESPN material. The BCA has come through recently and said that they're going to open up their archives to us. The WPBA, of course, has been phenomenally supportive of this project. So, Dean and Jerry have been willing to share, what they've got. AZ Billiards, Mike Howerton, is going to shoot me some stuff. So I feel like right now we've got, tons of support for all these different archives. And then, of course, we have people like Ava Lawrence, right? Like, her personal archive is phenomenal. And we interviewed her and we got her stories. Same with Billy Billing. I'm about to interview her next week. I'm hoping that we can interview people like Gene Valukas, and obviously we've already interviewed Lori John Brown. So just knowing some of these incredible veteran players, they themselves have incredible deep archives, and they've been willing to share it. So I think we're going to have an embarrassment of riches. I think there's going to be no problem documenting basically the 70s through the 90s, which is such an exciting period.
Yeah, great archival footage is like so critical. It really. It makes a documentary a lot sexier, a lot cooler.
And I've worked on a lot of archival films. I worked on a film all about the Rolling Stones in the early part of their period, which was on HBO, and I did all the archive for that.
Oh,
I'm telling you, that was very exciting. Yeah, there's nothing better than getting into the Rolling Stones archives. But I will say, the women's pool is pretty cool.
That's pretty cool too. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
And just listening to you talk and saying it out loud. The billiard community is already coming together for this.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, what's been the support like within the industry, Kim?
As Ashley said, it's great. What we do need is people to go to the Seed and Sparks. Kim's
like, let's cut to this. Let's get to our campaign.
Yes, absolutely. That's what documentary filmmaking. That's what it's all about.
It is. Yeah. We need that funding to continue, but yeah, everybody's pulling together. Everybody's pulling together.
Well, we should say that we've had great initial funding from Brunswick Billiards.
That's what I was
gonna
They
ask,
shot
yeah.
us. Yeah, they're just Nick Barron, and Jacqueline, who's now the BCA chair. So she's obviously at Brunswick, and she's the first female chair for the Billiard Congress.
And just welcome the new baby as well. Yeah.
Yes, congratulations to Jacqueline.
Yeah.
And then also Olhausen, they've been incredibly supportive. They donated 2 pool tables for us to raffle off, and as part of our online campaign, we've had Jacoby, Balbushka. So we have a lot of industry support where they've donated quite a bit of product for us to offer as incentives for our campaign.
Yeah, and I'll add, even when we didn't have any footage to show, Nick, or Dan, they're like, yeah, we're in.
Yeah.
And so without this, we wouldn't even be here right now.
Yeah, sure.
Knowing Nick and Dan, I'm not surprised to hear that. So they're both great guys for sure. So where is this initial funding taking you ladies up until this point? Because I know I saw you ladies out in Wisconsin. I don't know why on earth I went to Wisconsin in December, but I decided to, and you ladies stayed out there even further because after that y'all went off to a tournament. Is that right?
We did. So we went to the Wausau Open in Rothschild, Wisconsin. And I don't know what you're talking about, Mike. I mean, I think 12 degrees in December. That's, come on, who doesn't love that?
It's a dream. Yeah.
I mean, you're a Texan, right? you can handle anything.
Yeah, had the tank top work out in December.
Not so good, Mike. Let me tell you, I took a windbreaker out there. It was a bad mistake. That was a really bad mistake for December.
Yeah, the wind is just part of it.
Yeah. So we went to the Wausau Opens. We had 4 days of tournament, and actually that was my first tournament to ever film. And I really underestimated how difficult that would be because we were trying to do interviews while people, because it's a tournament, you don't know if they're going to be playing next. And so we're trying to pull people in between their matches to do interviews. And also, I mean, I was really impressed, so I've watched pool, but it's not the same as being at one of these tournaments where you really understand that, the players are on their feet for so long and they have to maintain such incredible focus. And they're playing match after match after match. And so to me, it is a sport of just complete stamina. And I was really impressed. And I'm hoping that will come through in our footage. Because certainly we had to have the stamina to make it through 4 days of tournament filming, which we were also on our feet for that whole time.
Right.
But that was a lot of fun. And then what's more exciting for me is, so in April, we went to film in North and South Carolina. And so we got to film with Allison Fisher and her family at home. And to me, when you see like the greatest of all time, right, the greatest player to have ever picked up a cue stick, and she's just kicking it by her lake with her partner, with her family, you see her kids, they're picking up eggs from their chickens, she's hanging out with her mom and going over old scrapbooks, and her mother has moved from England and now lives with her in North Carolina. And she's a fantastic character.
She's full of personality in her own right. Allison's mom is great.
Christine, otherwise known as Ginger.
Yeah.
She's a hoot.
Spin-off about Ginger.
Yeah, she should get her own show. I was gonna say, I've spoken with her for like 30 minutes. She's great.
Yeah.
And she still goes to Allie's, tournaments. It's fantastic. And she's shy of 90, but I'm not sure how shy of 90 she is. Anyway, so we got to film with her, which was awesome. And then we got to see Ava Lawrence and her daughter Nikki at Nikki's horse farm. And so you get to see like them, in their element, mother and daughter. And Ava shared all of these wonderful stories about, taking Nikki on the road as a baby when Ava was at, the top of her game and playing on ESPN. And her daughter was sleeping underneath the pool table, with her toys. And like, that's what she had to do to, continue to perform at the top level and be an incredible pro and to be a single mom. And then of course we got to see Gerda Hofstetter, who's, a force unto herself. She did not want to say mother blanking on on film. She's still a little bit shy. But
we're good with that around here. Ashley?
Yes. So I will also censor myself. I will not drop any F-bombs.
Yeah.
But Gerda's, such a wonderful character as well. So we got to see her in North Carolina, and that's wonderful too, right? Because like she's part of, so many of the players that came over from Europe in the 90s. And so she's really part of that kind of wave of the European players that came over. And I
that's
think
a story unto itself. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would love to hear more about that from you, Mike, because I know that, you were watching that, and like, how did that change, the sport?
It didn't change anything. They didn't talk to me any more than the American players did.
True.
Let me ask you this, as you go through this, and I'm sure this has happened in other films that you've done, what have the surprises been? What have the angles been that you just maybe caught you off guard, or you thought, wow, it's a lot deeper than I thought it was, or we could go into this direction? There's always things like that, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, we are talking about real people with real rivalries. I mean, these are competitive people. And so there are very true rivalries that happen, not just for the television cameras or, for streaming or for the fans, but, there's definitely some behind the scenes drama, let's say, between some of, the players. But to me, like, that just makes it all the more real. That if you're trying to build your career, you're not necessarily always going to be thinking, like, even though we're ladies and we like to think that we're, collaborative, wonderful human beings, we can be nasty sometimes, and we can do not great things to some of our sisters sometimes. And so, some of those stories percolate up, but I think, the best thing about it is that you can learn from that, right? You can learn from, do you throw your opponent under the table? Do you do something to damage their career, or do you try to lift them up? Because if you lift them up, you're lifting up the whole sport. And so I think, I've heard a few stories in my interviews where there have been some regrets about some past bad blood. But I think a lot of people have come through it, and they realize that, the best thing you can do is shine a light on your opponent, shine a light on, the sport itself. And that's only going to make everyone stronger. So I'm not going to give you any hot gossip.
Yeah, I would say after hearing that, I'm in.
I mean, it does make for good television, right? Yeah. Like, it is drama, and like, these are.
But it makes good television because it's real.
It's got to be authentic.
It's not just putting varnish on something and making it all look great. This is reality, and there's so many layers to a storyline like this because, for one, it is about the women. The women have had different challenges than the men, and stereotypes and all these things. So those are all part of the equation, which makes it, all those different layers are what makes it interesting.
Well, I think that it is different for the women. I know I was talking to Ashley earlier that you imagine Alison. So Alison's the greatest female, cueist in the world, right?
Yeah.
She's a teenager. She's just starting. She goes into a snooker club. She's the best player there, right? The best player. All the guys are there, but she can't play because she's a girl.
Yeah.
So it's not. We haven't been playing forever because we weren't allowed to play. So it is a different story, and we do have a different mindset there. So for the players to come over from Europe and wherever and to get to this level, having overcome stuff like that, the game is hard enough as it is.
Just the whole story about Alison getting on a plane and having no idea where she was going and what she was going to come up against, and one-way ticket and not a lot of money in a suitcase and hope for the best. Those rolls of the dice. That's great storytelling in itself.
I asked her mom how she felt about that, and she gave a pretty candid response, which yeah, it was great though. But these are the layers that really are in the fabric that nobody gets to hear about, which I just love. And I feel like one of the toughest things is getting the ladies, not the ladies in general, like any player, especially pool players, just to like open up because they're not used to having a camera in front of them. And then it's like, okay, how do I present myself here? And I'd imagine, Ashley, you just want to get the most authentic, genuine piece of them. And really, it's them is what's going to get people hooked, because they are so full of their own story and their own passion and their own heartbreak and all these things that are just that are just woven into the beauty that they are, you know. And I love that you girls are taking this on. It's such an important piece of it's such a big part of pop culture, of sports, of all these things that get you more invested into, you know, pool, which is wonderful.
Yeah, and, you know, one of the things that's really fun that we're kind of watching evolve is, you know, so sort of back in the day, or let's say some of the older generations, the women really were, you know, so independent, and there was a lot of negativity if they were partnered with a male pool player. Let's say there was like this assumption that somehow, you know, her career was better because she was partnered with this male player. Now, I don't think we have that. Now we have these dynamic duos. We have these phenomenal partnerships with like Margaret and Tyler Steyer, you know, Christina Tkach and Fedor Gorst, and the fillers, right? The killer fillers, Pia and Joshua. And to me, when I was interviewing them, they talked about so much how having that partnership was critical, that they both pushed each other's game, that they were pushing each other in terms of developing their brand, their
100%.
business, their image. And to me, I'm like, oh, that's a wonderful thing to see, because it's not just the equality that is sort of developing in terms of like the game and like the players getting attention, but actually at like the personal level, where you actually have like these wonderful like married couples, and I love
it's really unique to billiards as a sport. I mean, it really is. I mean, you just can't find it anywhere else. And let me ask you, Ashley. You know, obviously, you have a unique perspective in all this stuff as being a woman in a male-dominated industry to start with. I mean, you came up through, so there's got to be a lot of
I have some stories, yeah,
that you can draw on that maybe, you know, a male producer in a situation like this wouldn't know where to go. That has to be helpful.
Yeah, for sure. And I do think I make a lot of the players more comfortable, because I come at it from my own perspective. You know, like I am asking questions that they find relevant. You know, I'm connecting with them on that emotional level, on the level of a, you know, a professional, you know, working hard, like, you know, I have my dream and my passion too, right? And so if I can connect with them in that very personal way, they do open up to me. So, you know, Mike's point about, you know, these players can be somewhat controlled and might be hard for them to open up, I don't find that. I actually think that they've been amazingly candid. I mean, Kim knows this. Like, I've pretty much had everybody cry on camera now, including Kelly Fisher. She tried not to, but she got a little emotional. And a lot of it is when they're talking about the sacrifices that their parents made. I think that's a universal thing. And also that they were so supported as young, most of them as very young women, you know, being told, you can do this. There's nothing wrong with you doing this. You know, in fact, you know, as a parent, you know, their parents supported them. I feel like at least 4 players told me stories about how their fathers built platforms around the pool table so that they could play as young girls. And I was like, and, you know, they didn't know this about each other. And I heard all of this in interviews. And so when you start talking to them about, you know, the sacrifices that other people made for them to be where they are, they all open up. They all get emotional. And I think the reason, you know, I can ask them that is because I know that's what my parents did. You know, and a lot of people in my life. There's no way that I'd be where I am if other people hadn't helped me. You know, and I think all the players love to talk about that. You know, like I was editing something about Savannah Easton today, right? And in her interview, she talks all about, you know, her father's her coach, her mother's her, you know, her travel agent, her business agent, her social media manager. You know, her brother is going to be her pilot when he gets his pilot's license. And all she wants to do is make her family proud.
She'll be the first one on tour with her own pilot. That's for cool.
I know. Cool. And she laughs at herself. She knows it's kind of ridiculous, but at the same time, she's like, "But how cool is that? My brother could fly me to, you know, events." I'm like, actually, that is really cool. But you know, I think they all open up when you connect with them about their families, their sacrifice, how tired they are. It's really hard to be on the road. You know, someone like Kelly Fisher, I think she lives in an airplane. I don't actually know that she's got a home because she's at the tournament
everywhere.
No fix the boat Kelly, we call her.
So you know, to me, like when you start talking to people about what they're really living through, oh, they will open up. and it's great. It's so fun to hear about.
And I think, sorry, yeah,
No, you're fine.
Ashley, you're just so genuine and authentic. You know, it is what it is, and the questions that you ask, and everybody just feels so comfortable around you. You know, because you are genuine about it.
Well, I'm interested in
good
telling
interviewer.
your stories. Thank you. Thanks, Kim. Do you want to produce a movie with me?
So I know you ladies said you had some help early on with Brunswick and with Olhausen, but what's been the process like for you ladies now as we're, 6 months since the last time I've seen you? I know you mentioned the Seed and Spark. Maybe you want to go into more detail as far as what that is as well.
Kim, do you want to talk about our crowdfunding campaign?
I want you to do it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm like, not it.
Inside and out. Yeah.
So yeah, we currently have a crowdfunding campaign going, and we've got another 20 days. So we need all the support we possibly could get. We are very, very fortunate that we've crossed the 50% mark. So we're trying to raise $50,000 to continue filming this summer. And we're going to be filming, as I mentioned, in New York next week with Jeanette Lee, Karen Kaur, Billy Billing, Caroline Powell, Christina Zlateva. We're doing a live fundraising event at Amsterdam Billiards on the 13th. So if you're in the New York area,
Jennifer Beretta will be there.
What's that?
Jennifer Beretta will be there too.
Jennifer Beretta. We also have, Alison Fisher is coming to our event.
I forgot about her.
A little nobody named Alison Fisher. Anyway, so you can see all of this on our website, qqueens.film. But the crowdfunding campaign, we've just crossed over 50%. So we're very, very excited. We've made a lot of headway. And the biggest thing, the reason we're doing it, obviously, is to raise funds to continue shooting this summer. We'd like to get to the World Games in China in August. That's a big expense. We're hoping we can make that happen. But the goal is that we are going to have enough footage to edit essentially a proof of concept. And that video is what we will then take to go pitch Netflix and Hulu and the streamers. And the goal is that we have a great proof of concept. They get very excited. They understand the pool fans want this. So the more followers we have, even if you don't donate money, just follow us on Seed and Spark, follow us on Instagram, because the point is that we need to show that there is this incredible world. There are these loyal fans. There are all these people that want to see this made. And we have to do that through showing numbers, right? It's all your analytics. We got to show.
See that there's a demand. Yeah.
And so, hopefully we'll edit throughout the summer, and then that $50,000 will help us get us concept and we'll go this fall, and then hopefully, attract a, executive producer or producing agreement with the streamer. And then that will then hopefully generate money that we need to film for the next 2 years. And then we get a 3-part documentary series about the women's billiards.
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned filming out there at Amsterdam, but is there more to it? I think I saw like a bunch of stuff was going to be raffled off, and a bunch of things going on outside, from meet and greets to challenge matches, all kinds of things.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll film all weekend, but the evening of the 13th, so 5 to 8 p.m. on June 13th, Friday the 13th, always a good date, at Amsterdam Billiards. We have on our website, you can buy tickets. We have a VIP section. You can do challenge matches with the players that are going to be there. We're going to do a sneak peek of some of our footage so that people can see what we're up to. So we have more footage to show, which is exciting. And then, of course, people can meet us and ask us questions. They can meet the players. And then, of course, we're doing the live raffle. So we've got an Olhausen table, which is absolutely beautiful, brand new, donated by Olhausen. And then a Jacoby cue set, and then also a Balabushka custom cue, which is absolutely beautiful. So we're raffling those off online, so you can buy those tickets, and you don't have to be present for the raffle. But if you want to join us in person, it's going to be an awesome night. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun. So we've already got like 40 people signed up to come, so I think we're going to fill the pool hall.
Nice. If I want to participate and I'm not in the area, how can I get a hold of you to purchase some tickets or to get a good sweater in there?
So everything's at qqueens.film.
Okay.
That's our website, and we'll share with you all of our links that you can throw up. And you can go and get event tickets, you can get online raffle tickets, and you can also support our crowdfunding campaign. And the biggest thing, our impact producer, Lita, might shoot me if I don't mention this, we have the most amazing incentives that she has been able to pull together with all the players. So if you donate to our campaign, you can get a signed jersey from Wei Su Chen, from Allison Fisher. You can get a signed 8-ball from Margaret Steyer. We've also got, I think, new signed balls from Savannah Easton. So we have incredible swag, plus our own custom cue balls with our logo, which is really cool. You can get a signed rack by all the players at Soaring Eagle who are signing them now. So Lori John Brown, my gosh, Christina Takash. We have too many to name.
We've got 17 queens at the moment. I count.
We have a lot of queens. And there are more queens. I mean, what's
Quite a
great
royal family.
Yeah, and there's so many new players coming into the world. So I mean, I'm just excited to see how dynamic this world really is, and all these incredible players. So I'm literally watching the live match results from Soaring Eagle right now on my other screen.
Same.
And it's fun to see like upsets and to see names that I don't even know yet. So there's like great action happening. So it's a good time to cover this world for sure.
Yeah, and I will say that Emily Duddy's done a great job. She's going to be hosting the Amsterdam event.
Okay.
So lots.
We could not have done it without her.
With Emily and Lisa have been brilliant. Yeah, like Ashley said, Lisa's at the Soaring Eagles event right now. We've got a booth there. There's product there that people can buy. They can meet the players. Yeah.
Right.
How great has it been to be able to get all these players on board in that regard of like donating things and pushing social media stuff and just being involved in this project? Because it really does feel like a team effort when I see things online.
It is, yeah. And they're well aware that we all have to come together to make this happen. And they are, yeah, been very, very generous with their time, their product. It's gone great. It's gone great so far. 56% we are at the moment, by the way, Ashley.
Oh, 56%. That's what we raised.
Let's get down to the money. Yeah.
Yes, and you can support us by being a follower. You can support us for as little as $10, or if you want a pool table, you can support us with $10,000, and we will ship you a brand new pool table.
Yeah. I mean, if you haven't, like Ashley said, $10 or just like, share, follow us. That will help. Yeah. That will help us. Yeah. We can't continue to do this without the continued support.
We'll post all the links on the description of the video here, along with Windows Open as well, to help spread the word with the Amsterdam event. And then, of course, that you guys can donate for that Seed and Spark campaign, which is awesome. I got a message from Nick Barron the other day. Oh, what was it? No, I found out that Nick had donated again, and of course, I knew that going into Wisconsin back in December. And I was like, what do you mean? Let's talk about it, man. Let's push it. And so when I found out he was out there at Fort Worth Billiards, I said, you guys got to do something. Get me a video or something. And it's just cool to see them. It's great to see them just, they want to support you ladies. They want to support what you guys are doing. They believe in what you girls are doing. And I'm excited, man. I can't wait to see. I want to see that footage, though. It's going to be at Amsterdam. That's the one I really want,
Buy a ticket, Mike.
There you go. I'm booking a flight. Yeah,
we'd love to have you there. We'll comp you a ticket.
There you go.
Another thing, it's something I thought that would be really cool to go to. I love going to New York for any reason, and it's just the date didn't work out, which really kind of bummed me out. But let me ask you.
Documentaries, we're always going to have to be raising money, so we'll just do another event so that you.
There you go.
I just like going. I'd like to be at an event. I mean, I'm happy to contribute as well, but I mean, I like being at the events and feeling the vibe and getting excited with everybody. But let me ask you this, Kim, being involved in this at this level, helping put all this together and having been a former player who was here during a lot of this great time, what, you don't want to put pressure or expectations on something like this, but, when you, in your mind's eye, how big can this be? For
great question, Mike.
I think my cup is always overflowing, right? I mean, you have to believe in what you're doing.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
You might as well. I think it's going to be the biggest thing since Tom Cruise. There you go. Just had it.
Color money.
Yeah, I really do. Yeah. because, like Ashley said, we're telling the stories of humans. You know, it's not just about the game. So people are going to fall in love with these people all over again, but they're going to know them on a personal level. So yeah, and people are going to, I think, people are going to realise, oh well, I used to play billiards when I was younger, and that's why. So I think I'm going to go down to the billiard room and start playing again. I think I'm going to buy a pool table. It's like the Queen's Gambit, and I said this to Ashley. The chess drama.
Walter Tevis, who wrote The Hustler.
Huh?
Walter Tevis, who wrote The Hustler, wrote Queen's Gambit.
Is that right, Mike?
And The Color of Money. Yeah.
It's a great connection. Yeah.
All the same author. Yeah.
Yeah. So the purchase of chessboards globally went up phenomenally. After that, I actually bought a chess set because of it. You know, so yeah, it's the biggest. It's going to be the biggest thing in billiards, not just women's billiards, but billiards.
Yeah. No, I think it's got a potential for sure to, you know, the difference to me with this and like the Queen's Gambit is it's not just about the game; it's about the people, and it can help make heroes out of people that someone who watches this didn't know before. And all of a sudden there's a connection, and I like this person. I want to follow this person's career, whether I play or not. It's creating connection between people that really helps, you know, drive interest, doesn't it?
Yeah, it will. And, you know, a young girl or a young boy sitting in a far off land watching it and see how Kelly started or Ali started. I think I can do that too. She had those struggles. I've got those struggles now. She had those when she was younger. I can do that, so I'm going to try.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes it brings me to tears, to be honest. Especially when we were filming, and I see Ashley has a way of bringing people to tears. She even brings me to tears.
I'm just sitting here.
Barbara Walters' impact.
Yeah, watching the players play and then watching Ashley interview them, knowing that this could really make them household names or give them the notoriety and let's say fame, whatever you want to call it, that they deserve.
They deserve, yeah.
Worked so hard. Yeah. Coming from a place where you're not allowed in a pool room, you're not allowed to play because you're a girl, to this is my dream, and it just fills me with a lot of joy, to be honest.
Yeah,
really
great. Yeah, you got a really interesting view of both sides of this, which is really great.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a lot of fun, fulfilling.
Yeah. You girls have a big responsibility, no pressure, but I think you girls are doing a great job, and I can't wait to see you.
I love the pressure. What about you, Ashley? Do you love it?
Yeah. It's like, you know.
Honestly, this is like, to me, one of the easiest projects, because these players really are phenomenal characters. They're all so different, and they are all deserving of the spotlight.
Yeah.
So it makes my job really easy, because I just need to be in the right place at the right time. I just need to follow them.
Keep the camera rolling.
You think your job's easy. Let's wait until you go to edit 180 hours worth of interviews into 40 minutes.
Well, I've learned a few things in my career. I turn on the camera when I think it's a real moment. I don't just run it at any moment. I think so much of, you know, really good filmmaking, and what I try to do is building those relationships before you ever turn on the camera, or whenever the camera is off, you know? So like, I have this great dream where I'm going to go on the road with Kelly Fisher, and there's going to be a lot of time the camera is not on, but the more she gets to know me and trust me, the better the footage is when we do turn on.
Yeah, of course.
And then that means I don't have 140 hours.
Yeah.
You know, it's quantity, it's quality over quantity.
That's true. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Well, we'll make sure and post all the info. We'll push the Amsterdam stuff for you ladies. We'll also share the Seed and Spark. You guys and gals can check it out at Windows Open as well. qqueens.film. Pinozo, you got anything else before we get out of here?
No, this has been great. I'm very excited for the project. You know, it's something that could really be impactful, and something that, you know, it's a great way to take a look at the people in the sport, and doing it from the angle of the women is really interesting to me, and offers a lot of possibilities and a lot of potential. And I hope that when you put a sample together and go knocking on office doors, that people realize, that this is something that could really draw an audience, because it transcends, you don't have to be a pool fan I don't think you'll have to be a pool fan to like what the product is, which is a story of
not with their stories.
Women overcoming all these different hurdles, adversity, things like that, and their drive to succeed and whatever. And it just happens to be on a pool table, which makes it, even cooler. So there's just, like I said, so many layers, so many dimensions to it that I think will make it really interesting, and hopefully, some bigwig thinks the same thing.
Well, my hope is that they can really see that, pool is one of these unique sports that really transcends like class, race, geography.
Exactly.
It is literally the most even playing field we've got is a pool table. And so, like, no matter what the backgrounds are of, our characters, the women that we're profiling, but any pool player out there, it doesn't matter. You get on the table, you're all the same, right? It's your skill that you bring to the table, no matter what the background is. And so I think that's going to bring a big appeal, because we really could have a huge audience, because I think people like those stories,
Very exciting.
We'll see.
We will bring you ladies on again, I'm sure, at some point, but I want to thank you for your time. I know it's been a little bit of a challenge getting everyone on the same page, being all over the world, but it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. I can't wait to see more of what you girls do. And I'm excited. Keep on doing what you're doing and keep pushing forward.
Thanks. You boys are the best.
I learned from Uncle Mike. We'll see you guys and gals later. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.